Hello, sleepy voyagers. Tonight, your path curves inward toward the brilliant veil of Venus, the shrouded sister of Earth. Cloaked in golden clouds and ancient heat, Venus turns slowly beneath a sky of sulfur light and silence. Here, mystery rises with the haze, and time itself feels like it has learned to wait. Before we begin our descent, tap like so this journey can find you again, and subscribe to join our crew for nightly voyages. Drop a comment with where you're listening from and what time it is. I love seeing our constellation of listeners glowing gently around the globe. Now, take a moment to dim the lights, lower your screen brightness, and if you like, let a warm hum play in the background, a whisper to match Venus's hidden rhythm. This isn't just a story, it's your quiet unfolding beneath the soft fire of a planet wrapped in cloud. When you're ready, close your eyes. You've arrived at Venus. You arrive where the sky is always amber and the clock forgets to tick. Your vessel floats in a calm band above Venus, sealed and steady, while the planet's slow reverse spin becomes a metronome for your breath. As the clouds thicken, thunder fades to a hum. You're carried, not falling. Science stays close, super rotating winds beyond your walls, a gentle pressure within. You're invited to listen, not conquer. Keep watching and feel the descent grow softer, the light deep into a golden dusk that never ends, until sleep finds you at the quiet edge of a volcanic horizon. You ask why a vessel can feel safer here than in low Earth orbit. It seems backward. Orbit sits above weather and acid and pressure. But orbit is also speed, vacuum, radiation, and unending motion without a cushion. Here, inside the high clouds of Venus, you float in air that holds you up. The cradle rests in a band where winds ease, where the ship can settle its weight into the medium around it. There is nothing to collide with, nothing sharp to jar the body, only a field of dense, slow atmosphere that carries sound and heat in even ways. You notice that your chest loosens at that thought. Safety here is contact without friction. The hull rides the pressure like a raft, riding a long swell. The cradle is sealed and simple to read. A smooth shell, a few inset windows, a low hum that never breaks into a whine. Outside, beyond the shell, the super-rotating winds race around the planet, fast and high, a river of air that encircles the globe in days. Your vessel does not ride that current. It holds to a narrow altitude where circulation slackens, where shear drops, and where the pressure outside the hull matches the systems inside with little strain. The ship's controls trim ballast and heat to balance buoyancy. A fraction of a degree in pitch, a breath's worth of gas, and you ease lower by centimeters. Nothing lurches, nothing grabs. Venus below is dangerous by any measure. The air is corrosive, the pressure near the ground is immense, and the heat is relentless. That is true. Yet here, above the worst of it, the environment softens. Droplets of sulfuric acid drift like fine rain in the thin light, but they never bite through. The shell carries an outer skin that resists corrosion. Surfaces that meet the air run slightly warm and do not let droplets bead. The portholes clear themselves, not with wipers, but with chemistry and temperature, so that you see the haze as a continuous field. Inside, humidity stays steady, temperature holds to a narrow band, and the air flows slow through quiet channels. You feel that quiet with your hands resting open. At these heights, 50 to 60 kilometers above the plains, the outside pressure lands close to what your body knows. Temperatures ease into numbers you would call mild. The ship does not have to fight a deep gradient between inside and outside. It only maintains comfort. You feel the difference in how the floor meets your feet. The structural members do not creak. The seals do not chatter. Systems idle. The sensation is less like a spaceship and more like a room that drifts. The cradle borrows its calm from the idea of a float tank. It reduces inputs until the mind stops searching for edges. The windows emit soft amber light and nothing more. The vibration profile smooths. You feel a low, even thrum shaped by the dense air outside. Airflow inside passes through layered filters that cancel hiss and leave a faint warmth. The seat supports you in a way that makes weight feel dispersed rather than centered. Your breath meets those signals and slows without effort. Materials do some of the work for you. The outer skin takes the acid and gives it nothing back. Neutralizing coatings keep the viewing panes clear. They never frost or streak. The hull maintains a thin boundary layer that stays warm enough to shed condensate before it gathers. Intake ports sip air and route it across scrubbers, then through baffled ducts that spread movement so evenly you cannot feel it. Motors and pumps run on soft mounts, so their sound blends into the background. The ship tells your nervous system a simple story. No jagged sounds, no stings of scent, no flashes. From this refuge, the world outside begins to change at a pace you can follow. The amber that now fills the windows will deepen. Layers gather as you drift, and the light responds by dimming rather than shifting hue or angle. There is no sharp noon here, no blue, no shadow with a hard edge. The sky will slide from warm day to golden dusk without ever calling itself night. You register that ahead of time, and your body trusts it. You wanted an answer to the question of safety. The answer is not a trick. It is the pairing of a gentle band in the atmosphere with an engineered shell that knows how to live there. Fast winds stream past above and below, but this slice moves less, and the cradle trims to that trough. The air is thick enough to carry and cushion. The skin keeps the acid at bay and sheds what lands. The systems inside hold temperature, humidity, and pressure to values that tell your body it has nothing to manage. The hazard outside becomes a constant, and constants turn into hush. You let the hush do its work. The pulse under your ribs drops to meet the slow pace set by the world you drift through. The hull makes small corrections you cannot feel. The ship breathes with you, shaves the edge off each external change, and leaves only a steady descent. The clouds press no urgency against the windows. You are ready to drift, guided only by breath and the slow pulse of the planet. Daylight feels endless here because it never arrives in a beam. It arrives already softened, already spread like a glow that lives in the air itself. You keep waiting for a bright edge, some angle that tells you the sun is in one place and not another, but there is no edge to find. The light is steady and low, and your shoulders drop because there is nothing to brace against. Your eyes stop hunting for contrast. Your mind follows. The sky holds an even amber, not orange exactly, not yellow either, but a warm middle tone that settles on every surface with the same weight. Sulfuric acid droplets hang in bands and sheets, not as a clear fog, but as a thick veil that does not break into pieces. They take the sunlight and cut it into fine threads, then mix it back until direction disappears. The glow does not come from above so much as from everywhere at once. You can read your hands, you can read the panel's quiet LEDs, but nothing throws a hard shadow. If the sun is out there, why is there no blue, no sharpness, no lines that tell depth? Because the cloud droplets are large enough to scatter light in a way that wipes out the strong highs and lows. Their sizes, often a few micrometers across, move light by my scattering, which sends it forward and sideways without obvious preference for angle. That scattering takes the punch out of direct rays. Brightness becomes a field, not a spot. The haze absorbs more of the shorter, bluer wavelengths and throws them round until they lose direction. Longer wavelengths slip farther, so the field turns warm, a steady amber that keeps its tone even as you descend. You test it with a hand near the window. On Earth, even on an overcast day, a shadow has a soft boundary. Here there is almost no boundary at all. The light under your hand is only slightly dimmer than the light around it. The panes do not glare. They give off a low shine that looks the same from morning to evening because there is no morning or evening to measure. It feels like noon that forgot to brighten. Time cues fade when light stops changing. Your body, freed from that clock, loosens. That overcast noon feeling never clears. There is no break where the sky tears open and lets the sun pour through. The cloud layer is too thick and too complete. The surface is hidden even to the eye that tries to trace shapes in the blur. Your room becomes the horizon. The outside is only depthless tone. With that, your brain stops firing orienting responses. No flash, no edge, no contrast spike to pull attention. In that quiet, a slow voice can lead you down step by down step. Persistent brightness, when paired with a calm guide, keeps you from catching on mental snags. The mind has fewer places to jump. Physics keeps doing the smoothing. The droplets act as a global diffuser, breaking sunlight and spreading it across the whole dome of sky so well that the concept of direct light doesn't apply here. 3/4 of the incoming radiation gets scattered or sent back before it can punch through as a beam. What remains arrives weak and even. Short wavelengths give way, longer wavelengths survive the maze. That is why everything outside wears a gold that won't turn white no matter how high you look. The color is not a mood. It is a spectrum trimmed by the medium you drift in. As you watch the pane, you notice the light is bright enough to see by yet soft enough to rest within. Your pupils choose a middle ground and stay there. The muscles around your eyes stop micro-correcting. Saccades slow. When vision quiets, thought quiets, because the brain is not asked to parse a field of sharp signals. The cabin keeps the air still and the temperature steady, so there is no gust or chill to break the spell. Your breath finds a simple loop, and the loop holds. There is a second layer to the calm. Without a day-night swing, the circadian anchors loosen. That can unsettle in a busy world, but in a cradle tuned for rest, it helps. Constant low-contrast light reduces cognitive switching. There are fewer reminders to check the time, fewer marks to tally. The voice you follow becomes the only metronome. You drift with it into slower cycles. Heart and breath align. The nervous system takes the hint and shifts toward rest. As you ease lower, the amber will thicken toward a darker warmth. Not sudden, not dramatic, just a steady slide to deeper gold as the path through cloud grows longer and the shorter wavelength give up first. The brightness will drop by degrees, the field will stay even. The change is not an event, it is a slow, obvious direction that you can trust. That promise lets you unclench now, because what comes next is only more of the same, tuned a step lower. So what makes this light different from the sun, you know, on Earth? The clouds here do the work of a giant diffuser, taking direct radiation and turning it into a constant golden mist that removes shadow, edge, and glare. It is daylight stretched thin and spread wide, crafted by scattering and absorption until it becomes a soft, unbroken tone. Your eyes rest inside it, your thoughts follow. The glow begins to thin in texture, even as color deepens, and somewhere behind the veil, a low murmur starts to thread the silence. You ask how a planet's backward spin could slow your breathing. The answer starts with the clock Venus keeps. Its turn is so slow that one rotation stretches longer than a year, and the direction is reversed. If you could watch the sun from a gap in the clouds, it would rise from the west and sink in the east. That strange pacing sets a baseline that does not rush you. A day from dawn to dusk here would run for months. The body hears that pace, even through cloud, as a long, even count. Your inhale finds space. Your exhale finishes without hurry. But a slow world raises a second question. If the ground turns so lazily, why do the upper winds race? The atmosphere moves fast, circling the globe in a handful of Earth days. That speed skims past the hull, but your descent does not track it. You are not bound to the flow the way a leaf is bound to a river. The cradle holds position within a calmer layer, using buoyancy and trim to subtract the gusts. What remains inside is the slow beat of the planet beneath the clouds. To make sense of this split, separate the solid world from the air above it. The rock sphere rotates backward and very slowly. The atmosphere, uncoupled from the crust by layers of dense gas, engages in superrotation, a global conveyor that marches east to west at cloud-top speeds that lap the surface many times over. The two motions coexist without canceling. Waves and thermal tides move momentum upward and around, feeding the fast flow. Near your altitude, the circulation stills enough for a vessel to neutralize the rest. The origin of that backward spin is still a puzzle. The leading ideas include an ancient collision that changed the rotation, or long, steady torques from the sun slowing and reversing it over eons, with the dense atmosphere contributing tidal drag. None of those stories is settled, but they give shape to a reasonable cause. Early violence or long tides bent the planet's turn into retrograde. The result for you is practical. The slow spin defines a very long period between local sunrises and sunsets. That makes daytime and nighttime each last for months, which smooths the environmental changes you would otherwise feel as jolts. Meanwhile, the speed of the atmosphere does not break your calm because the ship's systems take it out of your frame. Control surfaces and variable buoyancy cancel drift relative to the air mass you occupy. The faster winds at other levels exist, but you are not sitting in their shear. The hull trims in small amounts you cannot detect, preferring balance over chase. You tune your breath not to the current that slides by, but to the ground's slow reverse turn far below. Think of it like this. You hold your breath to a pendulum in a quiet room, not to cars on a highway outside. The pendulum here is the planet's rotation, a long, predictable swing. The highway is the super-rotating sky, loud if you were in it, but distant when you sit inside a sealed, buffered cradle. When guidance phrases count in a slow rhythm, they are matching that deeper clock. Human physiology responds to slow, regular cues with lower heart rate and longer exhales, which angle you toward sleep. A planetary day measured in hundreds of Earth days becomes an anchor that cannot jerk you awake. The study of these winds has shown that waves and eddies move energy and momentum through the atmosphere, sustaining the super-rotation despite the planet's drag. That is why the air keeps racing while the rock does not. For you, the important part is that the vessel rides a depth where those forces balance enough to reduce motion. Instruments sense the minima and settle there. The air's push spreads over a wide surface, so the remaining movement registers only as a soft vibration, a signal your nerves file as steady and safe. You may feel a faint lateral shift from time to time as control systems align with the calmer band ahead. It is not a turn so much as a gentle leaning into less motion. That leaning has a cadence. You can count it. Count slow, 4 for the inhale, 6 for the exhale, or slower if it fits. The planet will not run out of time, neither will you. The retrograde spin speaks not in pictures, but in a rate, one that tells your body there is no need to sprint. The fast air above and below becomes background when guidance cancels relative wind at your level. So why does the backward spin matter to your descent? Because it sets a calm internal tempo. The world under you turns with unhurried certainty, and the cradle uses that steady frame while it actively removes the jitter of fast air. You end up with a simple pattern: long counts from the ground, short noise removed by control, and your breath choosing the longer signal. Stress drops when the only rhythm left is slow and predictable. Ahead, the navigation markers show a trough in motion where shear eases. That is where the cradle will live for the next layer, a quieter band where the beat you follow becomes even easier to hear. You wonder how a planet driven by global winds can hide a soft eddy that seems to hold you in place. The charts show long arrows, an engine that wraps the world in fast air. Yet the motion around the cradle feels almost even. The answer is not a contradiction, it is a layer. Within the broader flow, there is a depth where the push and pull of different currents cancel enough to leave a trough in relative wind. That trough is where the guidance settles you now. At this altitude, the air does not move as one block. Speeds change with height. Directions tilt a few degrees from level to level. The result is a vertical gradient, fast above, slower where you sit, then fast again below. Shear lives in the boundaries between those speeds. In some bands, the difference slackens. You feel that slack as a drop in mechanical fuss. The hull stops buzzing, small parts stop trembling. The noise in the cabin thins to a low, even tone. Station keeping becomes a matter of small breaths of ballast, not long corrections. Superrotation wants to pull everything along, but the atmosphere builds its own lanes. Rising branches bring air up in broad cells. Sinking branches press it down. Heat from the day side and cooling on the night side set up a slow conveyor that interacts with the fast global flow. Where these broad motions meet, layers form. The sharpest winds ride near the cloud tops. Subtler patterns appear beneath. Those patterns shape pockets where relative motion drops. A vessel can live in those pockets without fighting the whole sky. Wave activity carves the bands more finely. Long, slow gravity, waves rise from deeper levels and spread their crests across the cloud decks. Thermal tides set by daily heating and cooling push and pull the air on a steady beat. Each adds structure, like ripples on a current. Where crests and troughs superimpose, they create lines of less shear. Instruments read those lines as slight dips in strain on the hull, as a smoother spectrum in the vibration sensors, as a reduction in the tiny adjustments needed to hold altitude. Guidance steers toward the dip and then trims to stay. The cloud system itself is not one sheet, but several stacked decks. Particle sizes and densities change with height, and so do temperatures. Each deck hosts different dynamics. At the transitions between decks, relative winds can slow. Droplets fall and evaporate. The heat released or absorbed tweaks buoyancy in thin increments. Those tweaks shape the flow into layers that your vessel can use. In one such layer, turbulence drops from a chatter to a murmur. The cradle recognizes it immediately by the way strain gauges quiet. Holding here feels like resting in the lee of a large, slow wave. You are still in motion with the planet, but the gusts slide past above and below. The hull aligns to the trough with a small tilt. The envelope warms or cools by half a degree to nudge buoyancy. Ballast shifts by grams. The descent rate drops to a crawl. You can feel the difference in your body. With less vibration, muscles stop bracing. The jaw unclenches. Breathing lengthens because there are fewer jolts to reset the rhythm. Less mechanical noise does more than please the ear. It tells your nervous system to stand down. Low, steady vibrations say the environment is predictable. When the input field stays uniform, no sudden whines, no quick shifts, the body stops scanning for threat. Sleep onset favors this kind of signal. The cradle is designed to deepen it. Motor mounts tuned to the dominant frequencies here, duct baffles that remove hiss, a floor that spreads any remaining tremor across a broad surface, so no single point starts to ache. You might expect the fast engine of the sky to erase such calms as soon as they form. But the same processes that make the engine run also build structure into it. Vertical gradients are not glitches. They are features of a heated, rotating fluid. Broad cells and waves are not interruptions. They are the means by which momentum and heat move. Their intersections create quiet edges. Those edges drift, but they are coherent enough for a careful craft to follow. The guidance keeps a soft lock by watching the pattern in small variables. A slight drop in drag, a smoother noise floor, a narrower spread in micro-accelerations. From this refuge, the descent can start without rush. There is no need to force a path through rougher air to make progress. The planet allows a slow settling. You hold the layer as long as it lasts, then step down to the next one when signals say it is time. Each step is measured in meters, not hundreds. Between steps, You wait. Waiting is not empty here. It is the method that keeps the field smooth, the light steady, and the body quiet. So what creates the zone that holds your vessel? Layered dynamics lay down a gentle minimum in shear, where broad cells, vertical gradients, and wave patterns overlap. The cradle reads that minimum and locks onto it, translating global motion into near still. Hazard remains outside, but force is spread and softened until it becomes background. Your role is simple: breathe and let the machine do the fine work. Below, the color shifts a shade deeper and the sound changes register, turning thunder into a soft drum that you feel more than hear. You release another breath and the band carries you onward. You notice the sound first as a shape rather than a strike. It does not crack. It swells and fades like a memory traveling through walls. You ask why thunder would behave like that, and the answer begins with the medium it crosses. Dense cloud layers can host electrical activity, but the air here is so thick that sharp sounds do not stay sharp. The edges blur, the path stretches. What reaches you is a low remainder, a hum that moves like a slow tide through the hull and into the body. The idea of lightning inside these clouds has a history. Some entry probes reported signals consistent with discharges. Later orbiters picked up radio signatures that might match the traces of lightning traveling along magnetic field lines. None of it ends the debate. It only says the sky could be making sparks where you cannot see them. If not lightning, then pressure waves born from moving air can carry the same slow stamp. Either way, the dense atmosphere turns any quick report into a longer, softer sound. You weigh the reports without needing to settle them. Instruments from earlier missions hinted at electrical events. The heavy clouds can charge by collisions of droplets and particles. When separation grows large enough, it could discharge. But records are fragmentary and the rate is unknown. Some analyses suggest frequent flashes, others argue for rare events. In this quiet cradle, the difference matters less than the effect. Even if the source is intermittent, the medium smooths it until it becomes nearly constant. Sound in thick air behaves differently from sound in a thin one. High-frequency parts die out fast because the dense carbon dioxide scatters and absorbs them. Only the lowest tones carry far. Those tones travel as long waves that bend around obstacles and pass through the hull as a gentle vibration. A clap becomes a pulse becomes a hum. Your ear hears less than your skin does. The ribcage takes the cue and slows. Long waves give the heart room to pick a slower beat. Inside the cradle, the structure works with the air to finish the smoothing. The hull, layered and damped, filters the incoming spectrum without fancy processing. Panels are tuned to avoid ringing at harsh frequencies. Ports are baffled. Seals break up resonances. What leaks through is spread out in time. The result is a sound that does not demand attention. It asks nothing. And so the mind lets it pass. You feel it more than you hear it, like a small drum a room away, playing the same bar with no hurry. You test the quality by closing your eyes. When a nearby noise is sharp, the startle response ticks up. Here, the energy lives down low, rolled into a slow envelope. That envelope promotes relaxation. Studies of sound and physiology show that lower frequencies can support longer exhales and a steadier heart rate. You do not need the studies to confirm it. You can sense the change as your breath lengthens with each pass of the hum. The cradle does not amplify it. It equalizes the field so no spot rattles your bones. Between murmurs, the carriage descends a hand's breadth. You would not notice it without the slight change in tone as pressure climbs by a fraction. That is the measure the vessel uses. Tiny shifts in sound, soft changes in vibration, all mapped to altitude. Each note lower tells you another layer has gathered under your keel. You count without numbers. The world outside marks the steps with sound. If the source is lightning, you will not see it. The clouds carry the light away in 1,000 directions before it reaches you. If the source is a pressure wave from air rising and sinking, the signature is similar when filtered by the medium. Either way, the key thing is not the event, but the filter. Dense air edits the sky's impulses into a signal that reads as safe. No sharp onset, no rising edge that snaps the eye and tightens the jaw. Just a wide, low band. Arguments continue in labs and at desks far from here about how often the sky sparks. You float beneath that question and let the physics do its quiet work. The atmosphere turns fast to slow, bright to dim, loud to soft. The hull adds one more layer of gentleness. It is enough. The nervous system hears the verdict and stands down. Shoulders release, pulse drifts lower, sleep steps closer without asking permission. So, what is the muffled thunder behind the vapor curtains? It is either distant electrical discharge rolled flat by thick air or the long breath of atmospheric waves, or both at once, blended until they are the same to a resting body. The medium takes the strike and returns a hum. The hum does not argue, it repeats. With each repetition, the cradle yields a few more meters, and the glow outside shifts from amber toward a deeper gold as the path through cloud grows longer and the world grows more hushed. You ask how sulfuric acid could ever feel like shelter. The word says hazard, and on Venus it is. Outside, droplets hang in the air in endless layers, yet together they act like a shield that spreads light, heat, and sound until none of it arrives as a spike. The field turns soft. Your body reads soft as safe, and that is how a corrosive sky becomes a blanket when you are sealed inside a vessel built for it. Think of the droplets as countless tiny lenses. They are a few micrometers across, big enough to scatter sunlight in a way that smooths direction but does not kill brightness. Each droplet takes a bit of the beam, sends it forward, sideways, and back. The path length grows. By the time light reaches the hull, it no longer points. It surrounds. Edges fade, shadows lose purpose, and glare falls away. With fewer hard transitions, your visual field steadies. The eyes stop jumping, and the mind lets go of vigilance. Heat gets the same treatment. Radiation from above and below enters the droplet field and spreads. Temperature gradients, sharp in clear air, flatten inside this mist. Warmth moves in slow waves rather than hot spots. Conduction through the dense atmosphere adds to the smoothing. Your cradle sits in that averaged environment so its thermal control loops can hold a narrow, comfortable band without chasing spikes. Heat arrives as a stable baseline instead of sudden changes, and the body settles into it. Sound, too, finds its edges rounded. High tones fade faster in thick, CO2-rich air. Low tones remain. Droplets add scattering that lengthens paths. What starts sharp out in the cloud becomes a long, low pulse by the time it reaches the hull. The result is a sound field that stays even across the cabin. No single place rattles. No sudden burst jerks your attention. You hear a steady hum and feel a slow vibration that says the world is predictable. You still carry the question, acid is acid. Why does it not bite? Because the cradle's skin is not passive. The outer layer uses materials that resist corrosion, backed by sacrificial coatings that accept the first contact and neutralize it. Surfaces that face the cloud run slightly warm, just above the dew point of the surrounding mixture, so droplets do not bead and sit. They land, spread thin, and slide away or flash off. Windows keep their clarity because their outermost layer is both chemically tolerant and heated enough to shed condensate before it can fog. Maintenance of this clarity is quiet and constant. The coatings renew on a schedule you do not see. Microchannels in the skin wick away residue and route it to neutralizers. Any remaining film is too thin to distort the view. The result is a persistent, clean pane on a world that tries to blur itself. You look out and see the haze, but you do not see streaks, halos, or drips. The design keeps the interface simple, so your senses receive one message at a time. Inside, the air system supports the same simplicity. Filters strip trace acids from intake streams and return air to the cabin through diffusers that spread flow. There is no whistle in the vents, no hotspots of movement. Temperature holds steady within a tight range. CO2 levels stay low and stable. When the field of sensation stops changing, your brain stops spending energy to model it. Uniform input reduces cognitive load. Thoughts that would loop find fewer anchors and drift. As the vessel descends, the world outside loses its edges even more. Droplets grow and shrink with height. Layers stack and unstack. Each arrangement pushes the spectrum toward a slightly deeper gold and stretches the light across a wider span. The cabin mirrors that steadying trend. Motors run at constant speeds. The floor transmits only a broad, low tremor. You feel the ship as one piece with the medium, not a machine fighting it. The active skin keeps earning its keep. Small temperature offsets at the surface maintain a warm boundary layer that hovers against the hull. That layer prevents beading and cushions the transition between the cloud and the structure. Chemical sites in the coating neutralize what settles before it can react. Where a droplet might have etched, there is only a brief contact and release. The windows, with their neutralizing outer films and gentle heat, stay open to the amber. You never need a wiper, never hear scraping, never see a smear. This is how a hostile ingredient becomes part of a comfort system. Cloud microphysics disperses energy. The hull's defenses finish the job, turning coarse input into a uniform field. Light becomes soft and unbroken. Heat becomes steady and mild. Sound becomes a low, even wash. The nervous system receives one message: safe, safe, safe. With that, shoulders lower and breath lengthens without command. So how do sulfuric acid clouds transform into a protective golden mist? The droplets break radiation and sound into fine, even distributions, while engineered surfaces neutralize and shed contact, preserving clarity and calm. The medium removes the spikes, the vessel removes the sting. Together they deliver gentle, continuous stimuli that the body can rest inside. As you notice the field grow warmer and more even, another signal starts to rise from below. It is not a rush. It is a quiet, steady whisper of heat moving up through the pressure ladder. You expect pressure to feel like a squeeze. As the cradle descends, it does not. The sensation spreads instead of pinches, like weight laid evenly across the body. The reason is pace and control. The cabin's pressure rises by small steps, each matched to the outside, so no surface, metal or skin, takes a sudden load. Your body does not register a threat, it recognizes a steady hold. The mind follows that cue and settles. The descent is slow. Guidance lets altitude drift down in thin slices, and the cabin tracks the outside with a slight lead. The pressure inside trends just above what you would call sea level at home, nudged upward by fractions, held there until the nervous system accepts the new baseline, then advanced again. There is no pop in the ears, no squeeze at the sinuses. Valves whisper, not hiss. Gauges move in smooth arcs that take minutes to mark a single unit. You feel none of the work, only the result, an even hand on every inch of you. You may hold a hard fact in mind: the surface below is crushing. That is true, but irrelevant here. At these heights, the outside is moderate and manageable. The cradle lives where the atmosphere carries its own weight gently. Structure and systems meet the environment halfway. The hull does not fight a steep difference between inside and out, because the difference is kept small. Stress falls on the vessel and on you. Your muscles stop pre-bracing. The spine settles into the seat without guarding. Equalization is constant. Sensors read the pressure around the hull and the pressure in the cabin and balance them through a bank of small regulators. Changes occur in thin increments so narrow that you stop noticing them. The shell feels no sudden push, which means it does not creak or flex in ways that would alert the ear. The body draws the same conclusion. No sudden change, no alarm. Pressure becomes a background condition, like the steady weight of a blanket that never shifts or slides. Gentle, even pressure carries a known effect on the nervous system. When the body receives uniform contact, the parasympathetic response comes forward. Heart rate drifts lower. Exhale grows longer. Shoulders release without instruction. The cabin's incremental rise uses that effect. Instead of pressure as a stressor, you experience pressure as quiet input, uninterrupted across the torso, limbs, and scalp. The message is consistent. Safe. Seating makes that message clear. The cradle's contours spread load across large surfaces, taking points of contact that would dig in and turning them into broad zones. The seat back supports the ribs without pressing on one place. The cushion under the thighs balances the weight so no single joint throbs. Micro-adjusters shift by millimeters to keep that distribution even as the cabin changes by small degrees. Your breathing finds a slower rhythm because the body is not occupied with micro-corrections to relieve a sore spot. Temperature and air mix remove distractions before they form. The cabin holds to a stable warmth that fits easy rest, and it keeps humidity in a range that does not make the skin clammy or the throat dry. Scrubbers keep carbon dioxide low and steady. There is no stale pulse to trigger the urge to sigh or yawn for air. Thermal gradients in the room are minimized. The air does not layer into warm and cool pockets. You do not move to escape a draft. You do not shiver from a cold panel at your side. With fewer signals, the brain stops scanning. As pressure climbs by small amounts, the body's own cues shift. Eardrums equalize without a swallow. The chest settles under a uniform touch that feels like a cue to lengthen the exhale. The pulse in the neck slows by a count. The head grows heavier on the rest, not from fatigue but from ease. If you place a palm on the seat, you sense no buzz, only a broad, low tremor that seems to sync with the slow pattern of your breath. The field outside helps. Denser air beyond the hull carries heat and sound evenly, which makes the cabin's job simpler. The systems do not chase spikes. They smooth already smooth inputs into something flatter still. When the outside pushes, it does so on all sides. The hull returns the gesture by distributing that push across frames and skins designed to flex in long, shallow arcs, not snap. You feel the absence of sharp force as silence. You notice the way the pressure makes thinking simpler. A hard edge in the day would make the mind hold its shape against it. A soft, constant load lets the mind stop bracing. Thoughts become fewer and longer. A sentence stretches, a pause extends. The voice guiding you slows, and you can follow because nothing in your body is asking for quick adjustments. As the light outside dims to deeper gold, the embrace of pressure grows steadier. Each small increase becomes part of the same broad hold. The cabin adds a fraction, waits, and then adds another. The long, even tone of the environment keeps the nervous system in a downshift. Nothing sharp arrives to undo the drift. The sensation is not compression, it is containment. So how does rising pressure become comfort instead of strain? Controlled equalization turns what could be a squeeze into a stable, body-wide calm. The atmosphere's gentle weight, managed in small steps, behaves like a quiet hand across the shoulders and chest. Seat, air, and structure keep that contact even, while thermal and chemical steadiness prevent any tug toward discomfort. The result is a hold you can rest inside without thinking about it. Below, the air grows denser still, and time thins to a quiet thread. You look for a clock and find none that matters. The readout on the panel still counts, but your body stops using it. The question slips in, why does the clock feel unneeded here? The answer lives in the way the world outside refuses to give you the usual marks. Light stays even, sound stays low. Heat changes so slowly that your skin cannot tell minute from hour. The cues you use on Earth to divide a day into pieces do not show up. The mind waits for them, then stops waiting. Uniform light makes the first cut. There is no bright edge sliding across the room, no shadow that walks from wall to wall. Amber rests on every surface with the same tone. It does not flare, it does not fade. With nothing to track, your eyes lose the urge to measure. That pulls at time in a quiet way. Without change to count, counting itself grows faint. Even the soft hum in the hull settles into one note. It does not tick, it does not chime. Seconds stop having shape. External markers thin further because the environment refuses to rush. The cradle makes small adjustments by design, and it makes them slowly. A valve sighs, then nothing. A pump nods, then stillness. Heat on the skin holds steady. The seat presses with the same broad touch. When signals stay flat, the brain stops stitching them into a timeline. The sense of before and after softens into now. You might expect the mind to push back. When there is no dawn or dusk, no loud change, does the mind drift or resist? At first, it searches. It tries to find a pattern to hold. The gaze circles, then comes to rest because there is nothing to catch. Resistance gives way to drift once the system decides a lack of change is not a threat. That decision is helped by the slow, regular cues you do receive: breath, vibration, a voice that does not hurry. The body's clock leans on contrast. On Earth, morning carries blue, noon hits harder, evening warms and dims. Here the spectrum holds warm and even. The usual alerting signal never fires. Without that push, the arousal systems stay low. The nervous system does not get the message to be sharp. It gets a different message: maintain, do not escalate. The pace of thought follows the light. Monotonous, low-contrast input also calms the switchboard in your head. Every time a field changes, the mind flips a switch to track it. Fewer changes mean fewer flips. The loop that replays old worries needs bumps to keep turning. The evenness cuts those bumps down. Rumination fades, not because you force it, but because there is nothing for it to grip. It slides and slows. In that quiet, the narration steps in as a metronome. The cadence is slow and stable, not dramatic, not clipped. It matches the planet's unhurried rhythms, sets a simple count, and lets you rest on it. You hear phrases that breathe, pauses that hold. The guide tracks your inhale and exhale and gives them a frame. Long in, longer out. You fall into that loop the way a pendulum falls into a swing. Controlled breathing does more than feel right. When you lengthen the exhale, the body answers. Heart rate settles. The slight sway in the interval between beats deepens and smooths. That shift, small, measurable, ushers the system toward rest. You do not need numbers. You can feel it in the soft drop of the pulse at your neck, in the way your shoulders lower without a plan. With each breath you choose, your internal time stretches. The haze thickens, thoughts thin, words arrive at longer intervals. The need to mark them on a clock fades because each moment holds the same gentle weight. The window shows no angles. The cabin adds no alerts. The voice gives you a stable path through a field that does not change. There is no pressure to force this. Time slows because the link between outside cue and inside count loosens. The clouds wash the light until it carries no sharp data. The air damps the sound. The cradle smooths the last bumps left over. Taken together, they strip away the fast signals that pull you to the surface. What remains is a slow, even current. You float with it. If you listen for a minute hand, you hear only breath. If you watch for a sunbeam, you see only amber. If you wait for a clock to tell you what to do, it will fall behind the voice that asks less of you. This is not sleep yet. It is the road to it, paved in sameness. Your sense of time sits down on the roadside and stops tapping its foot. So why does time seem to slow down as you descend? Because the cloud-filtered light and the steady sensory field decouple you from normal cues. The body stops scanning for change and drops into a slower internal pace. The voice matches that pace, and breath seals it. The clock on the wall can keep counting. It has no say here. The starless sky becomes complete now. No points, no lines, only the golden twilight that stays. You breathe once more, and the minutes open wide. You look for points in the glow and find none. The glass gives you a single field, smooth and steady, and the question lands. Where did the stars go, and why does their absence make your chest release? Space, in your mind, means pinpricks in a dark vault. Here the sky never goes black. It stays lit, faint and warm, with no dots to count. The quiet you feel begins with that missing pattern. Without targets to chase, your eyes stop their small jumps, and the mind lets the search fade. The reason is not trickery. It is the cloud itself. The layer around you is thick, stacked in decks that reach for tens of kilometers. Every ray that tries to cross gets scattered by droplets again and again. Light does not pass through. It takes detours, splits, and recombines. By the time it reaches your window, it has lost the map back to its source. Stars rely on straight paths to stand out. Break the paths enough, and their points blur into the same tone that fills the rest of the sky. You expect at least a few to punch through. They do not. The droplets and aerosols scatter light in all directions many times before any of it moves forward. Point sources flatten into a uniform wash. Even if a star is bright, the path through the haze is long and busy. The signal erodes into the background. What remains is a soft glow with no edges and no spots. Your brain, which is tuned to lock onto contrast, finds none to lock onto and stops trying. The tension sits in the contrast between what you think space gives you and what this sky offers. Space suggests crisp dots and hard dark. Venus gives a lighted fog that denies both. That denial helps. The orienting response in your nervous system listens for sharp changes, flashes, lines, edges, and pulls your attention toward them. Remove those cues, and that automatic pull eases. In this cabin, the only thing that changes is the very slow dimming as you drift lower. No flashes, no streaks, no alerts. Multiple scattering does more than hide points. It turns the dome of the sky into a diffuser. Each droplet sends light sideways and forward with little preference, and those choices compound across millions of steps. The end result is a field that looks the same in every direction. Your window is not a frame with a view, it is a gentle lamp set far away. The room inherits that evenness. Corners do not glow or darken. The panel's indicators sit on a background that never wobbles. You feel the effect in your eyes. With no targets to jump to, saccades slow and shrink. The muscles stop making fast corrections. Pupils hold a middle size and stay there. Reduced eye movement lightens the load on the cognitive systems that track motion and shape. You do not process edges because there are none to process. That quiets the chatter that usually runs unseen, the split-second decisions about where to look next and what to label. An example sits right in front of you. The window shows a single hue that deepens by thin degrees. It is not a fade you can time, it is a leaning toward darker gold. Your eyes can rest on one patch and see no difference a moment later. Rested eyes send a message the rest of the body understands. Stand down. The jaw stops clenching, the shoulders release, breath lengthens, because there is nothing to catch at. The room keeps its tone, and so do you. This effect is practical for sleep. When the visual field stays flat, the alerting circuits do not fire as often. Without sharp stimulus, the orienting response drops. The body does not get nudges to stay on guard. Pair that with a steady voice and a low, even vibration, and the system moves toward parasympathetic dominance. You do not have to force it. The environment removes the reasons to resist. The absence of stars is not a loss here. It is an edit that leaves you with fewer hooks. The sky's uniform brightness spreads any remaining highlights into the whole field. Glints on the window do not flare. Distant flashes, if they exist, arrive as a slow change in tone rather than a spark. The cabin's design leans into that smoothing by avoiding shiny edges and hot spots. Materials reflect softly. Surfaces meet light without glare. As you descend, the field keeps the same rule. No points appear. The brightness falls, but it falls everywhere at once. You are spared the sense of motion that comes from a sunbeam tracking along a panel or a shadow crossing a floor. Without that motion cue, your internal clock finds fewer marks to push against. Seconds lengthen. The voice guiding you takes longer steps between phrases, and you have room to follow because nothing in front of you asks for quick attention. Ahead, under this featureless sky, the world's surface waits. Heat rises from it in a slow tide, not a wave. You can feel the promise of that warmth on the hull, steady and mild, as if a distant hearth were heating stone. The horizon will not sharpen. It will arrive as a soft band, then stay. That steadiness tells you there will be no surprises, only a gradual approach to a place that does not hurry. So, why can't you see stars here? The clouds are opaque and busy with scattering. They take points of light and erase their points, leaving a diffuse glow that carries no signature of its sources. That glow calms because it removes the edges that would keep you alert. In their place stands a uniform field that asks nothing of your gaze and lets your mind rest. Heat gathers at the skin of the cradle now. It does not press, it warms like a slow hand, patient and even. You hold the number in your mind. Air near the ground could cook metal. 900 degrees, give or take. You expect that kind of heat to rush up and smother anything that dares to descend. It doesn't. The warmth that reaches you comes even and slow. You feel it as a background, not a blast. The question is why? How can a world that hot send only a gentle presence to the cradle? Start with the path heat must travel. The air below is dense and deep. That density carries heat upward by conduction and by radiation, but not as a sudden wall. The layers mix and share energy over distance, softening spikes the way thick fabric softens a shout. Each kilometer adds drag to change. The rise in temperature is a slope, not a cliff, and you move along it at a pace the body accepts. Inside the cradle, systems meet that slope with their own steadiness. Radiators face the sky and throw excess heat away in the wavelengths that pass best through the haze. Emissive panels find the spectral windows that still work, even in a CO2-rich atmosphere, and lean on them. Phase change blocks inside the walls take on heat when needed, melting quietly to absorb spikes, then solidifying later when radiators can dump the load. Nothing snaps, nothing surges. The control loops treat temperature as a target you can sleep inside. Sensors read the cabin and the hull skin in fine steps. Algorithms open and close valves by small degrees, adjust pump speed slowly, and bias airflow so no corner grows stuffy. Insulation keeps the outside slow tide from soaking the interior too quickly. Layers of foam and aerogels slow conduction. Gaps tuned to limit convection stop air from streaming heat into one panel. Each piece buys time for radiators to work and for phase change stores to buffer. Heat from below does rise. You feel it as a uniform lift in the hull's temperature, not a patchwork. That uniformity matters. When the entire shell warms by a fraction of a degree, your body reads stable environment. When a hot spot slides across the floor or a draft bites one wrist, the nervous system wakes to fix it. Here, warmth acts like a quiet furnace far away, constant and low. The seat holds that tone, the armrest holds it, the window frame holds it. No one part nags the skin. The air you breathe stays within a narrow band set for rest. The cradle keeps humidity moderate and airflow gentle. That combination lets a slightly warm room make you drowsy instead of restless. The body cools itself through the skin and breath. Calm, slow air and steady moisture let that process work without clamminess or chills. A small rise in ambient temperature tilts the balance toward sleep when it is paired with quiet and low light. You feel it now in the way your eyes want to close sooner, in the way your exhale grows longer. Outside, dense air smooths heat as effectively as it smooths sound. Radiation diffuses through the cloud decks. Conduction shares energy across layers that do not mix fast. Thermal tides creep slow enough that the cradle's systems always have lead time. Insulation and emissive panels do the accounting, keeping the cabin in a tight range. When the external flux leans warmer, phase change stores take the difference. When the sky allows, radiators purge that stored heat. The cycle breathes without you noticing. You can track the process by the absence of alarms. Fans do not kick hard, pumps do not surge. The noise floor stays the same as the environment's temperature inches upward outside. Thermal sensors return numbers that slide 1 decimal at a time. The cabin responds in steps so small they feel like stillness. Your hands rest on the cushion, and the warmth under your palm does not creep. It simply exists, a baseline your body accepts and then stops paying attention to. That acceptance is the point. Heat should threaten here. Instead, it arrives domesticated by distance and density, then managed by gear that values quiet over speed. The system acts early and softly. It never waits for a spike to act. It forecasts from the thin trends the sensors see and moves first. Emissive surfaces adjust their angle. Fluid loops change flow by small percentages. The boundary layer on the hull remains warm enough to shed condensate, and yet not so hot that it bleeds back into the cabin. Each margin is small, and small margins feel safe. You catch a change in the view. Through the haze, the glow from below gathers into a steady ember, not a flame. The tone of the sky leans toward copper. It is not brighter, it is deeper. The warmth on the shell matches the view, constant, patient. You are not being cooked. You are being held near a source that does not lunge. So how does a 900-degree world warm you without harm? The heat rises through dense air that spreads and slows it, then meets a cradle designed to reject and store excess in quiet cycles. Radiators, phase change cores, and insulation balance the flux so that extremes translate into mild, even warmth. The cabin sits inside that calm like a stone warmed by a distant hearth. The floor hums once in a low register as guidance trims buoyancy. Ahead, the volcanic plains wait, silent under their veil. The cradle lowers another meter, and the ember below grows steadier. You lower through the last band of cloud and ask why a planet shaped by fire looks frozen. Heat rises from below, steady and strong, yet the scene refuses to move. The surface comes into view as a broad sheet with soft edges, a world of plains that hold their shape for eons. No rivers carve, no forests shift, no storms leave scars you can trace from one hour to the next. The quiet is not a trick of distance. It is the pace of the planet itself. Volcanic plains spread in every direction, wide fields paved in basalt long ago. Here and there the haze hints at higher ground, tesserae, rough country crumpled into tile-like patterns that rise from the flats. Between them, long flows once ran and froze, building a level that stretches farther than the eye can follow. You do not see lava shine. You see the long result of lava that cooled and set. The land wears a matte finish, as if it chose stillness and kept it. The tension lands. With so much heat underfoot, why so little change now? The answer lives in how this planet moves, or does not. The crust does not split and slide like plates. There is no wide network of spreading ridges, no chain of subduction zones pulling old crust back down on a schedule. Without that continual churn, the surface holds its form until deep forces reset it. Change still comes, but not as a constant shuffle. It arrives as episodes spaced far apart. Scientists mapped these plains with radar and found vast sheets of basalt across the lowlands. The patterns speak of eruptions that covered huge areas, then stopped. Younger surfaces drape over older ones in broad swaths. Craters are few, which says the ground is young in geologic terms, yet fresh flows are rare. Signals in some regions point to possible ongoing activity near large volcanoes, but if it happens seldom. The scale is decades to centuries between whispers, not minutes. From the cradle, the horizon refuses sharp lines. Dense air erases distance, ridges soften into bands. The ground's texture blurs into a steady tone. Nothing hurries. If something moves, it moves slower than your ability to watch it. That restraint cues your own system to match. The more you look, the more your gaze slows. The land teaches patience by giving you nothing to chase. Without plates, heat leaves by other routes. Broad swelling can lift and fracture, then drain away. When the lid cannot vent with many small leaks, it sometimes vents with few large ones. That is the resurfacing idea. Long, quiet, punctuated by widespread flows that reset vast areas. Afterward, the world goes still again. From above, this reads as a scene that holds. The craters you can count do not crowd. The plains look young and then stay that way for a long time. Radar images revealed wrinkle ridges, lobate margins, and long channels cut by lava rather than water. The features are there, but they do not evolve quickly at the surface now. Even a volcano with some small ongoing warmth does not throw ash into this thick air in a way you can see from here. The haze scatters glow into an even wash. Fire loses its glare in the filter. What remains is the shape it left. This slow geology offers a practical gift. When the world under you ignores the clock, your mind does too. Human thought leans toward the pace of its surroundings. In a place where slopes do not crumble, where dunes barely crawl, and where light never throws a moving edge, the brain drops its habit of checking. You settle. The land's long intervals become a model you can borrow. The pulse in your wrist takes a cue from rock. You might wait for a flare, for some hint of urgency to justify your attention. It does not arrive. The floor of the planes holds. The tesserae keep their rank. The cradle keeps its slow sink, then pauses. Instruments show the same values from 1 minute to the next. Your body reads that as permission to let everything slow. Breath lengthens because nothing outside asks for a quick change inside. The descent ends as a hover, not a landing. The hull suspends you a few hundred meters above ground level, buoyancy tuned to a standstill relative to the air mass around you. The view stays a layered gold, shading to copper near the horizon. The surface does not come up to meet you. It waits. You listen. You hear only the soft drum of the atmosphere and the quiet circuits of the ship. So what keeps this scene unchanged across millions of years? A crust without plate tectonics trades steady motion for episodic renewal. When change comes, it comes wide and then stops. Basaltic sheets laid down in big events erase the old and install the new, and then the planet holds steady again. To a watcher inside the clouds, the outcome looks like a freeze frame. The fire did its work, left its mark, and stepped back. You let that truth settle. A world can be shaped by heat and still prefer stillness. The quiet here is not empty. It is the product of large forces spread over long spans. The cradle hums, the horizon steadies, and the final truths arrive in whispers. Why you drift, why you never fall. You ask what holds you up when down is so heavy. Gravity does not pause for anyone, and yet there is no drop, no lurch. The answer starts with the air itself. Venus carries a thick envelope of carbon dioxide, dense enough at your height to behave more like water than sky in how it supports slow objects. Inside that medium, buoyancy does the quiet math. The cradle adjusts its own density until the difference between you and the air narrows so far that falling stops feeling like falling. You do not drop, you are carried. The cradle manages that balance with lift gas and heat. A sealed volume sits inside the hull, filled with a gas lighter than the CO2 outside. Around it, the structure can warm or cool select compartments. Warmer gas expands, density falls a touch, and lift rises. Cooler gas contracts, and you sink. The changes are small by design. Control loops tweak temperature by fractions of a degree, shift ballast by grams, and let you settle at rates that make a leaf look fast. Each adjustment moves you centimeters per second, not meters. The body registers none of it as a threat. Gravity still pulls, but the dense air pushes back through drag and buoyancy. Broad surfaces meet that push with a lot of area and not much weight per square meter. In a medium like this, terminal velocities can be very low for shapes that spread their load. The cradle leans into that physics. Its planform is wide, its mass is distributed, and its skin flows smoothly through the air. Even if it tried to rush, the atmosphere would not permit a plunge. The sky itself tames motion until it fits the pace of the descent you came for. You feel the lack of lurch most in how changes begin and end. The hull trims by a fraction of a degree and waits. In response, buoyant lift shifts by a hair, and you ease down a meter. Then everything holds again. No rebound, no overshoot. The guidance keeps the numbers in a deadband that favors stillness. When it acts once, then listens. That method keeps motion predictable at a very small scale. You learn the pattern without trying. A slow nudge, a quiet settle, a pause. Predictability matters to your nerves. Sudden movement lights up startle circuits. Here, micro movements happen on cue, and at the same speed each time. The vestibular system stops bracing because nothing surprises it. Muscles release incremental tension and do not pick it back up. The breath stays long, the jaw stays slack. Your body files each tiny shift under known, and once a signal lands in that file, it stops calling for attention. Inside the cabin, the same strategy repeats. Airflows avoid gusts. Fans hold a single speed. The seat's micro-adjusters move on a schedule that never collides with guidance corrections. If the cradle tilts by half a degree, the cushion changes its pressure distribution by the same small amount in the same window of time. Everything happens together and at low amplitude. That coherence reads as safety. The outside medium reinforces the effect. Dense CO2 squeezes the range of possible accelerations. Drag rises quickly with speed, so any attempt to move faster meets a soft wall. If a slight downdraft pulls, the large surface area returns a countering lift as soon as the relative wind grows. If a small updraft pushes, the ballast valves let out a breath and you balance. Each exchange ends where it started, near still. The sky becomes a partner that resists drama. You notice how the craft's thermal system joins the dance. Heating a compartment does not just change comfort, it alters lift by changing gas density. The control software uses that leverage with restraint. A 1-degree offset might trim your vertical speed by half a centimeter per second. The system knows the slope of that curve and never steps on it hard. It prefers slow approaches to targets and then a hold. Your body feels only the steady end state, not the path there. The effect is clear when you look at the numbers on the inertial display. Vertical speed hovers near zero, wobbling by millimeters per second. When guidance asks for a descent, it nudges that number to a barely negative value and lets time do the work. The sensors watch for shear that would spoil the quiet, and if they see it, the cradle stops and waits for the trough to return. Forward motion drifts with the air mass. There is no fight. You move the way a dust mote moves in a room where windows are closed and the day is still. The planet's voice grows clear in this geometry. Motion stops being a narrative of acceleration and becomes one of balance. Gravity leans, buoyancy answers, drag negotiates the terms. The tiny tilt, the small temperature shift, the whisper of a ballast valve, each is a word in that conversation. You listen by noticing the absence of jolts. When nothing snaps, meaning appears as quiet, steady change. The mind takes the hint and lets go of the need to prepare for impact. So what makes the dense air carry you downward without any sense of falling? Buoyancy control in thick CO2 turns descent into a float. Lift gas, heat, and ballast tune, density, until gravity translates into gentle surrender. The medium sets low terminal speeds for broad, light structures, and the cradle embraces that limit. Predictable micro-movements keep startled responses at rest, and the long pauses in between teach the body that nothing sudden waits below. You listen now for what cannot be said in words. If a planet could speak, why would it choose silence and heat? You came expecting answers that click into place like gears. Instead, the message arrives as a set of steady signals. No sentences, no symbols, only the same cues repeating until your body understands them. The question turns, maybe this world talks in the units the nervous system trusts: light, pressure, sound, pace, because those are the ones that settle the mind. The language starts with amber light. It does not point, it surrounds. That glow says, no edges to guard, no flash to brace against. Eyes relax in fields without contrast. Pupils pick a middle and stop working. When your gaze stops scanning, thought loses its need to race. The pain holds one tone that deepens with the descent. It tells you what will happen next, without surprise. A darker gold, not a break. Pressure joins as the second phrase, even, gentle, everywhere at once. It rests across skin like a hand that never shifts. That weight says, you are contained. No sudden push, no pull, no pop. Muscles hear it and let go. Heart rate drops a little because nothing asks for a jump. The cabin keeps the increment small, and small speaks clearly to the part of you that sorts risk. It sorts this into safe. Thunder adds the low note, not a crack, not a snap, just a hum that moves through the hull and into ribs. That drum says the environment repeats. Long waves give breath space to lengthen. You feel how each pass draws a slower exhale. Because the sound misses sharp onsets, the startle switch stays off. The body accepts the drum as baseline and sinks. Slowness holds the grammar together. The planet's backward turn sets a long measure. The cradle chooses that measure over the rush of fast winds and holds you in a depth where motion evens out. That pace says, there is time. Guidance maps to it, small trims, longer waits, no chases. The signal to your nerves is consistent across systems. Keep the longer count. You came for knowledge, and you're leaving with a feeling. Is that enough? Facts stack well in daylight. At night, they do not always help. Sleep asks for a different set of inputs, few edges, long rhythms, even fields. This world supplies them in layers. Each sense receives a reduced set of changes. The stack works better than a single trick because the body does not split attention between clashing cues. Layered sensory reduction is a known path to sleep. When light, sound, temperature, and pressure all lose sharp transitions at the same time, arousal systems lose reasons to stay high. A dim field without contrast pairs with low, steady sound. A stable warmth pairs with uniform touch. The brain stops tracking. The loop of checking the environment for change breaks. You feel the break as ease. In practice, it looks like this. The cradle slides its lights toward twilight and keeps them there. No flicker. No clock glow nudging your eye. The window keeps its amber. Ventilation runs just enough to move air without drafts. The seat spreads weight and keeps it distributed, even as the hull shifts by a hair. Thermal control holds a narrow band and lets the shell warm a little, like stone near a quiet stove. You breathe in, slow. You breathe out, slower. The exhale grows heavier, and the voice you follow counts to match the long day beneath you. Multi-sensory alignment matters. If light were calm but sound popped, you would brace. If sound were soft but temperature swung, you would stir. When all cues line up in one direction, dim, low, warm, even, the parasympathetic system takes the lead. You feel the signs. Hands open, jaw slackens. The weight of the head belongs to the cushion, not the neck. Nothing in the field argues against sleep. The planet helps by removing targets. No stars to count, no shadows to chase, No gusts that push a shoulder, no cooling draft against an ankle, only a horizon that arrives as a soft band and never sharpens. That horizon says, the world is there and it will be there later. It is not a demand, it is a backdrop. You look once and can stop looking. The mind accepts that offer and steps back. One last view holds in the window a hazed volcanic plain, flat and quiet, with distant rises folded into the gold. The surface waits. It does not call. Your breath matches that patience. Inhale, a long reach. Exhale, longer still. The hum under the seat keeps time. The cabin keeps faith with the slow rule of the sky. So why does Venus speak in slow heat and ancient calm rather than words? Because its physics resolve into steady signals your body reads as safety. Safety lowers guard. Lowered guard opens the door to sleep. The planet does not persuade. It conditions the room until sleep is the most reasonable outcome. Settle your shoulders deeper into the cradle. Let the glow stay even, the drum stay low, the warmth stay steady. The mist will keep watch. Safety here is power turned into rhythm, heat, pressure, and acid, folded into steady signals the body can trust. The cradle translates force into even light, low sound, stable warmth and slow motion, so tension fades without effort. Breathe with the planet's long count. Inhale slow, exhale slower. If this brought you rest, return when the day runs fast. The cradle will hold the same tone, the same calm, and meet you where you left off. Next time, we ride the cloud tops at dawnside and follow the wave patterns that circle a world without night, listening for their quiet roots around the globe.